Hi, I'm Beverly Hosford with the National Federation of Professional Trainers, the NFPT. We certify and provide continuing education for personal trainers. And today I have one of our esteemed personal trainers with us, Dr. Erin Nitschke.
Hello.
And we're going to talk a little bit about her journey as a personal trainer so that you can be inspired and benefit and connect with her.
I'll try to inspire.
It's so cool to have a personal trainer who's a doctor, which is you have a PhD in education, higher in
It's adult and post-secondary education. It's an education doctorate. Yeah.
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 So she's not a medical doctor that you would man, that would be rough having your trainer be a medical doctor, but
Yeah. No.
she,
No.
she's more of a intellectual type of doctor, which is awesome,
Yeah.
very knowledgeable. So tell me why you decided to become a trainer, Erin. I mean, amidst getting a PhD, why would being a personal trainer appeal to you?
I've always been somebody that's liked activity. I've always enjoyed, helping other people. And when I was in college, I mean, I can't even tell you the number of majors I bounced from. I think if I really think back to it, I think I started out as a biology major. I don't know. I liked science and I got into it and I'm like, oh, this is not what I want to do. What am I going to do with a major in biology? I just didn't know enough at the time. And then I knew that I liked helping people. So I switched to education because why not? And then I decided to change it. And I think I was like end of my sophomore year in college. And I thought I gotta figure out what I want to do. I mean, I was 20 and had no clue what I wanted to do, but I think that's pretty much the sentiment of every incoming college freshman. So I sat down and I kind of perused the catalog and I came across this kinesiology and health. And at the time, I didn't know what kinesiology meant. I'm like, that's a fun word. I want to know what that means. And I look it up, and they have an exercise and sport science major. And for some reason, at that point, it just kind of clicked for me that, oh my gosh. And I read about the career. I read about what you could do with it. And I thought, that's just my personality and my draw in a nutshell. That's what I want to do. So I switched to my major and I've been in love with it ever since. And funny because I at one point was an education major and then flash forward all of these years later and I'm still an educator, but I came about it through becoming a fitness professional. Very odd. I mean, it's just, and I'm sure many fitness professionals have a similar, kind of, they end up being teachers. I think you have to naturally be drawn to being a teacher because that's part of your job as a fitness professional, as somebody that works with people. You have to be able to teach them about lifestyle change.
True.
And so then all these years later, I decide I'm going to pursue a doctorate in adult and post-secondary education. So I, in one way or the other, ended up coming full circle and still am doing the two things that I love most.
Yeah.
So.
And so where in your journey did you start personal training? Was it when you were a sophomore or later?
It actually was when I was, let's see, I would have been a senior in college, senior in college, and we had to do an internship. And I interned at this facility where I was going to college and actually worked under a personal trainer that was already there. And I was like, this is so cool. So I got early experience with being able to program and like learning how to cue. And of course, every trainer does it differently. And there were some things that I really liked about what she did. And then there were other things that I was like, I don't see myself doing that, not because it's wrong, but because it's not the way I would cue. It's just not my personality. So I was able to get that hands-on experience really early on, and which I was fortunate because how many people get to the end of their college career, have had no internship experience, graduate, and get out in the field and go, oh, I saw this going way differently in my mind, and then having to either stay in that field or make a completely, dramatic shift. So I was fortunate that it clicked with me from the time I decided to pursue it. So then after that, I practiced as a personal trainer after I got my certification.
Awesome.
Which was 2005.
Okay, that's when you got your first certification.
Yep.
Why did you add the NFPT certification to your credentials?
The NFPT kind of found me in some ways. So, yeah, for those that don't know the story, I had actually watched one of Bev's presentations that she had given for, it was a Back to Basics Human Anatomy. And I watched it and I loved the presentation. And I was like, this is a true educator right here. I want to connect with her. Fortunately, she had her email at the very end of that presentation. So I just shot her an email. And I'm like, hey, this is who I am. You know, I'm really not a stalker. I'm not crazy. And thankfully, she offered me a guest blogging spot with NFPT. And that then turned into, and I can't even remember, was it like 2 months later, it turned into like a contracted author position.
Yeah.
And then as part, I fell in love with the organization. I particularly love the family-oriented perspective. Truthfully, it's family in the literal sense that has established and runs the organization. But that extends to how they treat their trainers and their extended staff. You know, like you and I are not family in the sense that we're blood, but they treat us like that. Mm-hmm. And I think when you get into those larger organizations, because I'm a member of several of them, the look and feel is a little bit different. And not that that's bad. It's really not. But this just felt like somebody wrapping their arms around me and going, we want you on our team.
Yeah.
That's a really different feeling because you're not going to experience that every place you work. Totally. Unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said about NFPT. I agree. What's the biggest challenge being a personal trainer?
Oh, there's so many. But they're so good. I think if I were to reflect back on the days of yore and when I first started, it would be finding my footing in the industry. You know, at least for me, I took the path of higher education, which isn't what you have to do to get a certification. It helps tremendously. But you you graduate and then it's like, well, then what? So I have this degree that says I have this particular set of skills, but what does that mean in the real world? And how do I translate that into actual practice? Mm. So that was my first real challenge. And it took a long time for me to feel confident because it's the one thing you don't graduate with is confidence. You graduate with a degree. I did not know that going into college, but now I do. And confidence is something that you build over time through successes and failures. And I think that both are equally important. And so after that, and I finally found my footing, I think the challenge is keeping up with the changes in the industry. There are thousands. There's always a different opinion or a different, program that comes out, or, oh, there's this new research, or, wine is good for you, wine is not good for you. Like, it's kind of schizophrenic in the way the industry changes, but it's also really good because it forces us, at least those of us that truly care about what we're doing, it forces us to learn and grow. And growth is always going to be a challenge. And it's one that I think people should embrace. And that was hard for me when I was really young, is like, oh, but I just got this figured out. No, I don't want to do it. And going back, if I could, I would change that mindset a little bit. So
totally. Which is why I think, doing an internship can be super helpful, which is really valuable. So what's been your most rewarding experience personal training?
Oh, gosh. It sounds a little bit counterintuitive, I guess. I think the most rewarding for me is when a client no longer needs me. Mm. When I have gotten them to the point that they're like, I got this. Oh. That hits me right in the soul, because it's like, we should be training them not to need us, not to be codependent, not to always lean on us as a crutch. But that's when you know that what you've taught them has translated into hands-on, real-life skills that they've somehow woven in to the natural fabric of their lives. That's critical. And that, I think, is where the focus should always be. That's the prize. Getting someone to the point that they make real progress that transcends from just the gym with you to their lives. And they start to integrate some of those changes. and it's kind of a bittersweet misery, you know, because you kind of fall in love with your clients, in the sense that you create these relationships with people and you really get to know them, and you can't help but not want to see them succeed. But then when they no longer need you, it's kind of like, bye. It's the same way I feel when my students graduate, is like, oh, can I keep you just a little longer? But then you're so proud when they exit that door and they walk across that stage, and you're like, I was a part of their journey. And that, I think, is the greatest reward of anything.
Totally. What's been your biggest accomplishment as a personal trainer or in the industry?
You know, I don't know that I don't know. Is that fair? I don't know that it's been anything I've achieved personally, but I think it's the impact that I believe I make with anyone that comes my way, whether it's to be a student or it's to be a client. And in some way you sort of rub off. You influence them in some way. And I can think about a number of students that I'm still in contact with today. They're Facebook friends. I meet them for coffee or wine. Hannah is one of them. And, you know, that's not necessarily what I've achieved personally, but what watching them achieve, I think, is just as much my accomplishment, in a less direct way, I guess, because I see that and I'm so proud. I'm like, this is why I do what I do. And it kind of gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling that, yeah, I made a difference. So I think that that's one of them. But then when I think about the more tangible achievements, I think about just how I was able to, and kind of in a you know, a windfall of fate, I think, break into being a writer in the industry. You know, for NFPT, it was me taking that chance to reach out to you and be like, hey, you want to be friends? I think you're pretty cool. But then also the opportunities that fell as a result of that. So writing for ACE, that's hard to break into that. And I kept banging on their door. I mean, I had taught their curriculum for years. And I'm like, hello, can I, please just let me write a 500-word article. If you think it sucks, fine, but let me try. So it took years for me to do that. But then thankfully I was able to reach out to IDEA and published my first article last fall, which was like way exciting. It's probably not as exciting for those, you know, seasoned writers in the industry, you know, the real movers and shakers in the industry like yourself, who's presented nationally and written a ton. But that's a huge step, because as I think about my career, I always wanted to be able to be a writer in some respect, but I just really didn't know how to go about doing it. And so it wasn't until like all of these stepping stones were put in place, and then I have my second big article for IDEA coming out in June. I think it's June, on behavior change. So I'm really excited about that one because it was a huge undertaking. Oh my Lord, I thought I was going to have a heart attack over it. But the editor had reached out to me and asked if I would write this particular CEU article for them. And normally you have 8 weeks to write a significant article that's about 4,000 words, and I had 4. Thus the heart attack.
That is an accomplishment.
Yeah, so I felt really good about that because I was like, I was able to meet that challenge tenfold, and I had it to her before it was due. So that was kind of my motivation, was like, I want to prove to Sandy that I can make this happen and I can do it and that I love doing it. So I would say that's another huge accomplishment.
Super. Do you have any advice for people thinking about being a personal trainer, or people that are personal trainers?
So much. As I think back on my own career, but I think number one, you've got to get and stay educated beyond just what your certification gives you. And I mean, that includes not just continuing education to keep your certification, but you have to pursue knowledge. You have to chase it. And so if there is something that intrigues you about the industry, or maybe you run across a presenter or a researcher or a writer that presents a completely counterintuitive thought to you, or something that you disagree with, pursue that and find out why. Research is never 100% right or 100% wrong. And I think that's the really intriguing part is we're constantly learning. We're constantly having to adapt our ways to what research is guiding us and informing our practices of. So I think getting and staying educated is tremendously important, and that should never be sacrificed. But this is also coming from someone that has a doctorate, so take it as you will. Okay, I've been in school like my whole life, but I think that's the exciting part is the not knowing, and being like, oh, I don't know this, and that's really cool. Don't let that scare you. Find out what it means and what it is. And I think the other piece of that is staying deeply connected to the passion that you have. Don't let that burn out. So I think you have to be thoughtful in how you set yourself up. So as a new trainer, don't jam pack. Yeah, you want to make money and you want to make a name for yourself and you got to feed your family and whatever. That's great. But being thoughtful about how you go about doing it so you don't burn yourself out and ultimately kind of develop a love-hate relationship with what you do. Because that wasn't the goal that you had to begin with. So I think you need to be thoughtful about how you go about doing it. And I think if I were to give another piece of advice, it would be connect with your why. Why do you want to be in this industry? What excites you about it? What drives you nuts about it? Where are the gaps? And finding out which direction you want to go and then pursuing it with bravery and courage and strength. Be crazy brave. Do it. So what if you fall down? Whatever, we all do. Get your ass back up. Sorry, but that's the advice I would give. Get up, dust yourself off, and move on, because you will never make it through this life successfully if you don't get knocked down a few times. So connect with your why and then pursue it. Pursue it with passion and don't give up on it, I guess.
Sweet.
I have a lot more, but just thinking about my own mistakes in life,
Totally. What does the future hold for the fitness industry? What do you think?
Oh gosh. I think it's so largely unpredictable, but I think we're seeing some cool trends that are kind of intriguing and interesting. I think and you're a big part of this, is bringing sleep fitness to the center and the forefront of people's minds. And finally somebody is saying, this matters. Oh, I can function on 4 hours of sleep. No, you really can't. And here are the reasons why. And bringing that science forward, because it, believe it or not, does matter with the goals that we're pursuing with our clients. And thus making it that extra piece of the puzzle, that perhaps missing piece of the puzzle. And then I think we're going to see a lot of like virtual stuff. We're already seeing that. We're seeing a lot of virtual health coaching. We're seeing a lot of virtual personal training. And yeah, it sounds so goofy when you think about, like, we spend too much time sitting and on our computers and connected. Yeah, we do. But I think what the industry is doing is kind of cool, in that it's like that if you can't beat them, join them. So this is how we're going to combat that, is we're going to meet them with something that interests them. And we're going to use that to get them off their duffs and burn some calories and integrate some really healthy practices, so they don't have to give up completely the being connected part. I think we're seeing a lot of really interesting change in that direction. And I think the last change, not the last one, but the one that's in the forefront of my mind anyway, is this kind of debate about body image in the industry. Finally, Amanda Vogel, has come forward and asked that question. Does the fitness industry have a body image problem? Yeah, we do. The industry does. Part of that human nature, part of it societal BS, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think we're going to start, I hope we're going to start seeing some empowerment and some change in that direction, because it's important. And it's, I think, one of the biggest barriers that's preventing people from either entering the profession, staying in the profession, or coming to professionals for help, because, oh, I'll never look the part. I'll never, like, what does the part look like? Really, like, it looks like what's in our minds and what's presented to us in images and in media and in, false advertising, really. Supplement commercials, that kind of a thing. So I'm hopeful that more professionals will sink their teeth into that potential movement and we start harnessing that power and moving forward to say enough is enough and not acknowledging. And that goes down to, how do we as individual trainers promote ourselves? What's the image on our business card? What are images on our website? Are they of real people, or are they of like the Beachbody crew? There's a difference. Believe it or not, visual literacy says something to people, either consciously or unconsciously. There's an influence. And so I think that's an important step to take is, look, it starts with us. And I think Amanda even said that in her article, was it starts with us.
So much wisdom. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I think, just starting out in any career, it's tough. It's not going to be easy. Don't expect it to be easy. But expect it to be worthwhile of your effort, your talents, your skills. And haters are going to hate. There's always going to be a critic out there, and chances are the critics are the ones with the fewest credentials. Ignore it. Don't let it, unless you value that opinion and you value what that person is trying to tell you, and it's coming in a way that's fair and balanced, listen to it. If it's coming from someone that's just running at the mouth, blow it off. Because again, haters are going to hate. It's literally like, even though we adult all day long, it's kind of like an episode of Mean Girls. It's going to happen. Don't feed into it. Don't give it your energy and your power. Focus on the things that you love to do, and be willing to learn, and be willing then to admit, I made a mistake, or I was wrong about this. That will get you more respect than anything. So the critics, they don't matter. They really don't.
Sweet. That's awesome. Well, if you want to get in touch with Erin, you can visit her blog. She has Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Erin is on the internet, and the links are down in the blog with this video if you want to say hello to her and get some more words of wisdom. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today, Erin.
Oh, thank you. It was fun.